Hailing from Syria, the Sheik was one of the most terrifying villains in professional wrestling and originators of the hardcore style. Fire, bloodshed, barbed wire.
Go on out to the car. The Sheik wants to talk to you. What?
Oh, what did I do wrong?
Gotta change your underwear? What? Going to talk to the Sheik? Oh my God. So out I went. He was in the purple Lincoln. The purple Lincoln with the white top and the white upholstery. And Jesse Ortega, who was working in the office at that time, was the driver that night. And I walked up to the window and the Sheik was really waiting for me. And he said, "So you want to announce for me, huh?" I said, "Yeah, sure." I said, "All right, I'll tell you what. Come to Cobo Arena in 2 weeks, buy yourself a black suit, and we're going to do TV the next day. You do Cobo Arena that night, and we do TV at channel 20 or 62, whatever it was, the next day." And I said, "Okay." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me." And he says, "And don't tell anybody you ever talk to me. If you do, I'll cut your tongue out."
You know, he was in his own trance when he got into that ring. He had his routine of what he had to do, you know, walk around the ring, get the fans in, point up to the mysterious, you know, gods that he was, you know, possessed by. You know, he had to take his little ring rug that he had to say his prayers to Allah. You know, he had his thing. And once, you know, that bell rang, you know, all hell broke loose.
Experiencing the former home of the legendary Sheik is something every hardcore wrestling fan thinks it would be.
This is it. In Williamston, Michigan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This is a beautiful home. I remember the first time that I saw it, he gave me a tour when it was still just 2x4s, and basically everything was wide open. But you could see that there were 5 levels to this house.
Well, let's
it's
tell
just
the
amazing.
people where we're at, first and foremost.
Yeah.
And, you know, we always say that Cobo Arena is the house that the Sheik built. Well, now we are in Williamston, Michigan, for a special episode of Bigtime Memories on the original house the Sheik built, what they called the mansion.
Right.
You know, back in the mid-70s, started construction, where they moved in 1974, 1975.
Right about
and
there,
we're
yeah.
here to take you fans on a tour of the Sheik's mansion.
Opulence and majesty await you as you travel the rooms and hallways that some of wrestling's greatest legends walked through. The home stands as a living tribute to the sold-out Saturday nights at Detroit's legendary Cobo Arena.
the original chairs from the house that maybe the Sheik hit somebody over the head. Maybe it was either Tom wasn't paying attention, Eddie Jr. wasn't doing his laundry or cleaning his room, or who knows, one of the boys got it over the head.
Five levels, numerous rooms, an indoor pool, sauna, even a wine cellar.
Here we are in the Sheik's wine cellar. Now, if there's anybody in Big Time Memories that knows what they're talking about at wine, it's the Supermouth right here. Let's see what he might have enjoyed at some time. Champagne. Oh, a nice Cabernet from California. Another champagne. That's an unmentionable. It must have been brought by some, one of the other boys of Boone's farm. God, just to rub your fingers on here, because the Sheik, just may have, put his lips to those, and it's like, just the sweetness. Like you said, this was, the control room, the control center of Big Time Wrestling from 75 to 1980.
And over there to the left, these doors open to the living room. I mean, really a lot of attention to detail went into this place.
Do you know or have an estimate of, what it cost them back then, to build this house?
The figure that was thrown around was $750,000 and climbing, because it was built over a period of a few years. And a lot of the things, like the doorknob, were imported, and things took a while.
And then it was a time where, it was hard times back at that time when it was being built. So, I'm sure energy crisis. So I'm sure there was a lot of, cost overruns and, things just kept on getting higher and higher and higher before they can even move in. But
amazing. This is so nice. 50 years after it was built.
Yeah.
It still looks impeccable.
God, just to, if the writing on the walls was still here, could you imagine? Yeah. All the phone calls he made, to all the boys who, worked Big Time Wrestling. His phone calls probably to Japan, because he was going to Japan so much at that time. The phone calls to, the Funks or Johnny Valentine, Sam Muchnick, Mike LaBelle, just every icon of professional wrestling in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, probably flowed through this room.
As promoter of Big Time Wrestling, the Sheik ran shows at the world-famous Cobo Arena in Detroit.
Every time I was around the Sheik, it was literally, this is not happening to me. I mean, that's the kind of an impact the man had on me from the time I was a kid.
Dave and Terry travel to the now defunct studio in downtown Williamston, Michigan, across the street from the office of Big Time Wrestling and Farhat Enterprises.
Yeah, I remember the bus being in there. It was, compact, and I remember, Bob Finnegan, doing the promos and, during the week. And there was sometimes, because we'd shoot them on a Tuesday or Wednesday whenever we could. And I remember, telling the story about you, we used to throw up a picture of Eddie Creechman, and he wasn't here to do the promo. And Terry would cut the promo using Creechman's voice.
I don't know who it could be. The mighty Sheik will throw a fire in your face.
It was Terry Sullivan. Terry
It was many more than one time, believe me.
Probably the most famous story I have about the studio here was when just after we started the UWA promotion. You were gone, I was leaving, and I was writing TV commercials for Channel 50 in Detroit at the time. And I had clients here on a Friday morning. But on Thursday night, I did my first UWA show at the Mimico Arena in Toronto, which was at the time opposing the Tunnies. And Sheik was still working for him. So we were cutting our commercials here, and toward the end, the Sheik walks in. And it's like, oh boy.
Where's the back door?
Yeah. So Sheik goes to me, goes like this, come here. We went into the TV truck. Very first thing he says is like, I heard you were working Toronto last night. And it's like, wow, news travels fast, eh? And it's like, he says, I'm really disappointed, after all I done for you and, all that kind of speech and, and it's like, hey, I asked for an opportunity and I wasn't getting it here. So I jumped at the chance and it was with a bunch of my friends. And he goes, well, I understand, but, I'd watch it if I were you because, walking out of, here, you just never know who's going to break your legs. And it's like, scared the living hell out of me for the Sheik to say that to me. So I stuck close to my people that, my clients that we were doing that day. And that was the last time I was ever at the studio here.
A lot of his relatives and family lived here because, as we've said so many times, family was numero uno.
Mm-hmm. And then, so many of the other boys, who worked the shows, they'd come and spend the night here. And I'm sure they ate well, drank well. And, and I'm sure, I don't even think wrestling was ever even talked about, between.
Well, I don't know. First time I ever had kibbe was from Joyce and the Sheik and Mrs. Fleischer, Francis.
Snake?
Oh, no, I didn't make it. Ellen.
Oh, the original.
Mrs. Fleischer or Joyce made it. That was the first time I ever had it. It was raw kibbe. I thought, wow, this is great.
I thought you were talking about his snake.
Kibbe? No, not the snake kibbe.
Did it first class from start to finish, and this room proves it. This is like the little bar, the little seating area. This house is just amazing.
Sitting down at the old office of Big Time Wrestling, Dave and Terry reminisce about the 9-to-5 days and the story of kibbe.
Building right behind us was the office, starting in about 1973 until the end of Big Time Wrestling. You see a lot of the promos that we used to do right inside of the front door against the wall.
And your desk used to be right behind us.
My desk was right in the front, and the Sheik's office was all the way in the back.
Yep.
I wanted to stay as far away from me as possible.
Oh, the stories that we've had from inside this building.
There was a partition inside of there, and there was an aquarium where kibbe stayed.
Yep.
And kibbe was the snake. And one day I had kibbe outside because, kibbe liked to sort of go around the sidewalk or whatever. So I'm sitting out front here in the office on the stoop with kibbe in my hand, and a lady walked by, and I think the newspaper was like couple of doors away, and she asked if she could take a picture. I said, well, I better go check. And he was in there, and he says, yeah, I don't care. So that my picture, along with Kibby, appeared on the front page of the Williamston paper. Big news week.
It was so funny, driving over here, I saw the back of the building because we always used to come through the back.
Yeah.
The front door was always closed, and it just reminds me going in there and, the ribs that were pulled on the Great Kabuki, if you watched his episode, where, Mike Lauren, I went to get Kentucky Fried Chicken in East Lansing, and on the way back, I didn't know that they pulled a rib on Kabuki and told him that there was a big accident and I was killed and his car was destroyed, and it was a whole big rib on him. But there was another story, I remember here. Remember the time we were doing promos here? And is the Sheik and Eddie Creechman, were going to do a promo. And the Sheik rolled up a bunch of newspaper. And then he set it on fire. And we've got pictures of that. Hopefully we can throw those up for you fans here. But once he started that paper on fire, it was 2 minutes of the promo. And by the time they were done, he couldn't get this front door open fast enough to throw the fire out in the newspaper. And the whole office was full of smoke.
So here you have it, the nerve center of worldwide sports and Farhat Enterprises.
The office.
Still feared to this very day, the Sheik's reign of terror in professional wrestling lasted decades. Some of his most notable feuds include fellow wrestling legends such as Bobo Brazil, Johnny Valentine, Terry Funk, even Andre the Giant. The guys sit down with the daughter-in-law of the Sheik in his formal great room to speak on her time in the house.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to be here with this young lady. This is the Sheik's daughter-in-law. This is the Sheik's son, Tommy's wife.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today, and being at the old house, and sharing some of your memories with us, and things that we would have never have known about the house. And there was at a time you lived in this house.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
Tommy.
Yeah,
and share some of your memories of living here, being on the grounds.
Yeah, he was a great dad, and he was a perfect grandpa.
Oh, I bet.
He really was. There was one time Susie was in her walker and we were having a show, and somehow she got out from underneath where we were selling the refreshments at, and she was halfway to the ring, and he seen her, and he was like trying to wave at her, and she was all happy to get down there, but we caught her in time, so he didn't have to break face or anything.
Now, didn't also his parents lived here, didn't they?
Joyce's parents.
Joyce's parents.
Yeah.
The promoter, Francis Fleischer, and his wife.
Yeah. They lived here, and then Eddie and Kathy lived here with their kids at first, and then Tom and I lived here for a while, and yeah.
Just sort of other hangers on now and then, right?
Yeah, there was lots of times other wrestlers would be staying here across the hall from our room and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember any of them that?
I do. I have a lot of memories of some of them.
Any you could tell?
The Iron Sheik was here one time.
The Iron Sheik.
And he stayed the night, and he was right upstairs and stayed the night across the hall from Tom and I.
Wow. Now, how did the Sheik, your father-in-law, what did he think about the Iron Sheik?
He asked Tom's dad if he could wear the boots like Tom's,
Did he
like
really?
Sheik's with the curve up. Yeah.
Wow.
He asked him about that, if he could do that.
That's very respectful.
Yeah.
A lot of people cite that as just the Iron Sheik ripping off the original
Right.
Sheik, which more than enough people did, but that's really something the Iron Sheik
Yeah.
guys did.
Yeah, and then Tom had a big attitude with people. If Tom always said if him and Eddie were born at different times, things would be a lot different because Tom was a lot more hardcore, I guess. And I don't know where I was going with that one, but one time Tom was answered the door and people were bringing money. It was Ric Flair, the Anderson guy, Ori Anderson, and another guy. They were doing a show in Detroit. And so they were renting chairs or renting something from Tom's parents. And so they came here to give the money to him. And Tom was probably 12 years old and he answered the door and he goes, is your dad here or something? Tom's like, nope. And he goes, I have a check for him. And Tom grabbed it and he slammed the door in their face.
Did Tom go, woo?
I don't know exactly. He was just happy about, I taught them.
You probably have so many great memories here, being with the family and dinners and, just talking and, so many people showing up and, you probably had just a great fun, living in this house.
Yeah.
Do you still have of the Sheiks? Or you or the family, your daughters?
The grandchildren. He has 4 grandchildren. And so he took up painting after he retired. He painted, so we have a lot of paintings that he painted. And then his belts, his boots, suitcases, cars, suits, lots of his suits.
And he used to design those.
Yep, they had a special on TV Guide about him designing his suits.
Really?
Yeah, they did a special about him, or a little article on TV Guide about it.
Because he was always the epitome of fashion. I mean, he really did his own thing, but those jumpsuits you could still wear those today.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was way ahead of his time when it came to, fashion. And I remember, I think it was Sam Muchnick telling me, and not out of disrespect or anything, but a lot of the promoters, were like bewildered, when they'd have, be at the national conventions, be it in Vegas or Mexico City, that the Sheik would wear one outfit in the morning, change into another outfit for the afternoon and a whole nother one, in the evening. I don't know if it was jealousy or whatever, because, most promoters, dress like Joe Crap the Rag Man anyway,
Yeah, he made them all look bad, I'm sure.
I'm sure he did.
Part of his intent.
Well, I still get mails and stuff asking, because, a lot of my photographs have the Sheik with the big pendant. And they always ask, what is it, who has it, and what it is. And, it's always, he always wore that with, no matter what outfit he had, plus the ring that you have here.
What was the pendant? Was that a gold dollar or something?
I think it was a gold...
wasn't it a map kind of Lebanon or Syria or something? And my nephew, the Ed Farhat, he has that. Yep, he has that.
Gotcha.
And then they have another ring that said Sheik in Arabic, and then my 2 daughters have this ring and then the Sheik bracelet.
Thank you for coming on our show. This is like a highlight for, Bigtime Memories, for sure.
It's a real honor.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this is, your very first interview, so.
Yeah.
These days, this beautiful facility is bed and breakfast, the Wheatfield Inn, Wheatfield Bed and Breakfast.
At the old house, the guys talk memories, and Dave relives his motocross days with Killer Brooks.
And me and Killer Brooks are going around, and we were chasing each other, a little too fast. We went right through the garden, and, we were like, oh, God, what's going to happen to us? But we never said anything. Nothing was ever said. Nothing was ever known about. So that's my favorite memory of the old house here.
Yes. Here on East Grand River Road, just a little bit outside of the downtown area of Williamston. This is where the kids were brought up, and the office, at the time they lived here until the time that it moved downtown, the office was in the basement.
Later in his career, he participated in multiple death matches in Japan, often accompanied by his nephew, Sabu. Visiting the graves of the Sheik and his beloved wife Joyce evokes emotions about their friends and mentors.
Here we are in Williamston, Michigan at the Mount Calvary Catholic Cemetery, where the Sheik and his entire family, who have passed, is interred. The 18 years has just gone by so fast, and I remember the day oh so well when, his funeral. It was a clear, beautiful sky day like today. But it was bitter cold. It was like 3 below zero, and the wind was howling. And I'm driving up from, Royal Oak, Michigan to here for the funeral, and I get a call. Back in the day, I had a beeper, and I noticed this phone number, and I gave it a call, and it was Dick Purton, who learned that the Sheik had passed and he wanted to interview me. So I did a short interview, on my way up here. Then I got here and went to the funeral home, saw the Sheik in his coffin, and I just couldn't recognize him at all. The only way I did, because he had lost so much weight, didn't look like him, but he still had the sword beard. And that way I knew it was him. And then, we went to the church, did the ceremony there. And then we came here to the cemetery and the grave. And, he was interred here. And it was the final time that I was able to see our friend. And to this day, I still have one of the roses that was on top of his casket. Bless you, my friend. Thank you, my friend.
Love you, brother. Miss you.
balls 1 through 15, but we've got 3 cue balls here.
I'm really proud to say that I'm a part of IBW.
I take pride in IBW that we are a family-run company.
It's a fight. It's a sport. At IBW, tradition has always mattered.
You're going to see world-class professional big-time wrestling at its best.
This ain't no sports entertainment. This is professional wrestling.
International Big-Time Wrestling's The Fix. Each and every week, your fix of IBW action. You want entertainment? Look no further than Rocks TV.
International Big-Time
Wrestling fans, if you like what you've seen, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and also don't forget to ring that bell.